Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we are live on a late night, Monday night, after watching the Lakers beat the Hornets in person. LaMelo Ball turned his ankle. We don't know what that means right now.
We don't know, but it was fun to see the Brown and AD.
Pray for LaMelo's ankle, everybody. Send a healing word out
Please
to
do.
the streets of heaven or whoever decides those things. You can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Search the Blackout Tips. We'll come up. Leave us 5-star reviews. Make them nice. We'll read them on the air on Saturday. It's fun. It's fun for the whole family. We love it.
We do.
The official weapon of the show is
Folding chair.
and the unofficial sport,
Bullet ball.
a bullet ball. Extreme. Now, why are we recording so late, guys? Every once in a while, something happens in life, and it's like we got to make a decision. It's like, should we talk about this today when we have time, or do we get to this in like a week when we got guests coming on tomorrow, Marvel Cinematic University podcast. We got I'm going out of town to do something Friday with Bomani Jones, Basketball Jones. Saturday is our feedback show. Wednesday we have a Hornets game. Thursday is probably gonna be Ballsy Sports if we do anything. So basically I looked around and I said, man, I really want to talk about this thing. And we talk about it in the car, we talk about the game, but when else are we gonna talk about it? And so this will probably be a shorter show as far as like, I don't know how long the show will be, but it's only one topic is what I'm saying. And I don't know where I'll throw commercials in, probably randomly in the middle of sentences, guys. You'll be looking up and be like, what the fuck? Why did he put a commercial
stop
there?
talking?
But I wanted to talk about this Target DEI Tabitha Brown thing that has exploded on the black part of the internet.
Right.
I don't know what the whites are talking about on social media. Probably not concerned with this in the least bit. But the blacks are very concerned. Okay, they have a lot of questions for Tabitha Brown right now. And and I understand it, but I thought, we could also break it down in a way that maybe you wouldn't hear other places try to come into it without like much of a agenda of, and try to come at it with some nuance that you might not hear from other podcasts and people online. And mostly I just didn't want to try to have this discussion in quotes on social media, because I feel like this is a thing that needs framing, it needs context, it needs more than just like gotchas and more than just the rhetorical like flattening of our dialogue, which happens so often to where you literally can't say shit without it just being like, oh, so you just think, and I didn't want to get to that. I watched online that she's been called all kinds of like coons and stuff today. I've watched other people defend her and call the other people who want to boycott like a bunch of names and shit. And I thought, oh, we could have this platform and not have to participate in that, back and forth and negativity. So let's talk about what, at least as far as I know, what happened. Maybe there's more that I don't know. But so Target, of course, did away with their DEI commitments, right? So we talked about that on the show earlier, and how a lot of these companies are getting out of the DEI game, period. We've been expecting this for years on this podcast. Many times we told you after George Floyd, hey, get your bucks where you can, get your deals where you can. This white guilt is a finite resource. It will run out. There will be a backlash to this shit, and then the checks will disappear.
Yes, sir.
And I think we're now watching that with Trump. We're watching the backlash. We're watching the checks disappearing. Even before Trump, there was organized white people, conservatives, mostly white, mostly conservatives. There was organized boycotts of and pressure put on brands like Budweiser and shit. For like, you put a trans person in your ad, we are going to shoot your beer cans, to the point where Budweiser, Harley Davidson, this is before Trump got elected.
Yes, sir.
They were like, we're done with DEI. And essentially, I think it's part of the thing I always say where white people's feelings become facts.
Yes.
So even though this brand promised to be committed, even though the ads they did were not offensive in any way, none of the ads said, "Hey, everyone needs to be trans." None of the ads said anything. It didn't say anything negative about cisgendered people. But I think trans people are an avatar for where you can put your bigotry now. In a way that gay people used to be. I remember when it used to be, they got two men kissing in this ad about K Jewelers or whatever. Now it seems like people don't get mad at that as much. Although I just think they don't voice their anger. I think they still feel uncomfortable with that. I think they still are not with it, and I think gay people are next.
Yes, they are.
They
don't come out they were like, oh, y'all thought y'all was safe.
Yeah, I don't think they like any of the LGBTQIA plus.
Like none of the letters.
I think they don't like any of the letters, but I think trans people are the ones that are the safest to target right now because many of the other demographics don't necessarily feel as strongly about protecting them.
Right.
And don't necessarily see them as part of the community. I'm not saying everybody, but enough people to where they become a stand-in for these divisive issues in our society, and the idea is, well, there's not enough of them, so people won't really feel like they need to stand on their ground with this. They'll just go, okay, well, it's just a few trans people, what are we worried about?
Right, but you come out to one of the letters, all the letters gonna go down. I don't know why what about that people don't understand.
Right. So I think that's a big part of this. As far as just like the targeting or whatever, speaking also, no pun intended with targeting, but also Target was originally one of the brands that was extremely pro LGBTQ, created clothing lines, created stuff even for kids. And conservatives, once again, their feelings become our facts. Conservative white people got outraged, and they were literally this during the pandemic when we're supposed to be masking up, social distancing. They were going into stores, harassing the employees, threatening the employees, making videos to incite things online. It's not that, I don't think I'm taking that big of a leap between you going in the storefront of a Target and acting erratically emboldens people online. And we know that a lot of times when we see like mass shootings, when we see physical violence and threats, a lot of times it comes from people that have been whipped into a frenzy from this conservative social media. Yes. So I really thought Target was in a bad spot there.
Right.
Because obviously the easy social media answer for those of us who have no blood on the line.
Right.
The easy social media answer was stick to your guns, tell those people go fuck themselves, and Target will always stand with the LGBTQ community. And then it was like, it's easy for me to say that at home, but I know for a fact the second that someone shoots up a Target,
in addition, employee.
Hurts employee, whatever. In addition to Target probably being sued by that employee's family and all the people that got attacked or whatever, and possibly even settling or winning in a courtroom because people will say, you guys courted this violence, you incited this violence, you did not protect your employees. I think also people would start calling them stupid and be like, this is their fault. I don't think people would have said, well, listen, that was the sacrifice that needed to be made in order for people to stand for LGBTQ rights.
Because people want it both ways, and that's not realistic.
Yeah, and I also think the other option would have been some sort of, well, we just will spend an exorbitant amount of money to increase the armed security at every Target in America just in case. And at some point, just as a business, it's just very unrealistic is how, right. And it always felt like they were in a catch-22 with that. But as you've said many times on this show, they start with LGBTQ, but then they got the DEI, and DEI is nothing but a stand-in for black at this point.
Yes,
even if black people only make up 4% of the actual people who are employed in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in corporate America. We know what the code means when they say it on Fox News, when these right-wing people tweet it out and stuff. When they say DEI, they mean black.
Yes, even though the real definition of DEI is very broad, and the real definition of DEI affect a lot of people, even white people. Like, it affects a lot of people across the board. It's getting ready to be a lot of people that are getting ready to get motherfucking shockers when their scholarships don't renew, or shit that they thought was covered ain't covered no more because these programs were quote unquote considered DEI, and they erased them bitches.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. White women benefit mostly from affirmative action and those type of things. And like I said, when I tell you 4% of black people, 4% of the DEI stuff is black, it really is eye-opening considering what people close their eyes and see DEI and what they think, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so they came for DEI. That's what's been happening. And I think a lot of companies already folded.
Yeah, they did.
Before Trump took office. They were just, we don't want the smoke. This is a backlash. We see where the tide is turning, and we don't want to deal with this mess, this headache. And these were never really our values anyway. Like, these were not these corporate values. You wouldn't have had to insert a DEI department if you were already living your raps, right? If Target already had, you're supposed to have diversity, equity, and inclusion as a pillar of your corporation, if that is a thing you believe in. Having to go scramble to get a department named after it and get some people to actually work there is says that you weren't living those raps. And in many places, in many cases, DEI departments actually hamper the corporate structure and the corporate operations that they had. Is actually, they thought this would be we hire some people, we pay them some money, they give us a check sheet that we're already meeting.
Right, we're already meeting.
They have no complaints, and then they tell us, hey, Target is a thumbs up, DEI. That's what I believe most corporate America thought they were doing. I think it's why you hear a lot of the complaints of white people, many of them not even being conservatives, but you see a lot of white people who are like in charge of things now. You see it on Twitter all the time where it's like, I am the CEO of this company, and let me tell you something, DEI was terrible. I understand that I don't agree with the Trump and all this stuff, but DEI was bad for our companies. It just does this and this and this. And it's all stuff that essentially is the departments holding them accountable for and being like, we're not meeting these goals. We're not meeting
the standard,
right? And so what corporation wants to take time to even address that, even if it is proven at the end of the day, the bottom line will be increased typically from these efforts. Like, you're getting more profit, you're getting more productivity,
getting better employees.
Yeah, you're getting better stuff out of the people you claim to. It's the goals you can want to meet, but you're like, no, fuck that. I don't like going into a meeting and feeling bad. I don't like someone telling us we're not meeting a certain thing, because I think they all thought it was a goal that you get a or B or whatever for, and then it stops, right?
No, it's an ongoing thing. Like, there are always things that people can improve on.
Right. And so people do not like that kind of shit. You're asking us for change, right? So I think you have a couple of things coming to a fruition at the same time. You have the anti-DEI pushback from, white conservatives. You have Trump coming to power. And you have a bunch of people in corporate America who were never really that committed to this shit, just thought it was like a quick coverall you throw on to be like, hey guys, we're not a bad company.
Yeah, they thought it was something you could just throw money at, and that's something that particularly the larger corporations, they feel like if we throw a few bucks at it, people will be satisfied because we're throwing a few bucks at it to meet our goals, and then we'll probably end up dissolving it anyway. But if we don't dissolve it for the fact that we can almost quote unquote write it off, that's why it's so easy to let it go, because it's something that they've always looked at as a write-off.
I think they saw it as PR.
Yes, I agree.
This
is
with that public too. Relations and nothing more.
More.
Oh, you want us to do some shit? You want us to change structurally how we recruit, how we interview, how we do evaluations, how we talk to people? man, we played the HR tape when everybody gets hired. What the fuck else you want us to do?
That's it.
No quid pro quo and no, you know, no horsing around and no ass grabbing. That's pretty much all we got to say, you know. So I think, and also, you know, don't forget, I believe the Me Too movement was also instrumental in a lot of the DEI thing. I believe that's one of the reasons that so much of the DEI universe is held by white women. I think that power grab happened too. I don't think it was intentional necessarily, but people hire who they feel comfortable with. And just like with affirmative action, white women are people that corporate America feels more comfortable with than black people. I still remember at a taboo meeting at one of my old companies, they said we could ask any question. No question was off limits. And you submit the question anonymously, so there shouldn't be retaliation, blah, blah, blah. So I asked a question. I said, how come we don't have any black people in management at this big ass corporation?
This big ass company.
There was one guy who was a middle manager in the AP department, one that I knew of. There's dozens of managers in the building, right? So I asked this question, and you know what they answered me with? Well, this company was located in Copenhagen, headquartered in Copenhagen, but we were their American office headquarters. And they said, well, we have lots of Americans, you know, in office in America as managers. And we also have women.
That's not answering my question.
They didn't answer my question.
Right.
They didn't say why there were no black people. That is
their diversity.
They didn't say they were going to do better either. They just said that was diversity to them. American white men and white women. That's diversity. They met whatever goal. That's what they were comfortable saying. They didn't say this is decades before the DEI movement, decades before Me Too even. So my point being, DEI as it is framed is black, but as it is actually initiated, it is not.
I agree.
Even with them saying we're done with DEI, I actually do not know what the fuck that even looks like at Target or any of these corporations. I think we need some whistleblowers to give us the inside scoop, because some of these companies are going to divest from DEI by just taking it off the letterhead and continue to do that work and be like, fuck it.
Yeah, we
just don't want the smoke.
Yep, we're not gonna put nothing in writing. We still gonna do these things. Like we're gonna make it so that nobody can track us, but we're not gonna change any policies, any procedures, or anything that we're doing.
And then some companies are going to fully divest and be like, we don't want no black people here. You're gonna look up and see a mass exodus of black people from the workforce, and you look in the offices as whites only, and we won't really know on a surface level who's doing what, which is why everyone's reacting to these announcements, because we really don't know. And we won't know for a while. The announcement is enough to incite the ire of many people, just because it's like, oh, you're publicly bowing before Trump, or kissing the ring of conservatives, or saying we don't want the smoke and we're scared, or you're just you're at least at the kindest version is what I just said.
Right.
The least kindest version is you're just pulling the mask off and being like, yeah, we didn't want this shit the whole time.
Right. We only dealt with women because we had to. In fact, we ain't nobody gonna be here with white men if it was up to us.
And we don't have you didn't elect a president that would incentivize us to do these programs, which is something no one ever talks about.
Right.
But a lot of incentives from the government is why corporations do this. They don't do this because they're nice. DEI is goals. This is not a requirement. It's not legal like affirmative action was legal before it seemed to be overturned by the Supreme Court.
Right.
Where it was like, legally you need to do this, this, and this to get this federal money or whatever. DEI stuff, it was like, if you would like to do this, you can also have some federal money.
Always optional.
Right. So I don't know who's doing what. I'm not assuming much, because honestly, I think assuming at this point is more about our own fears and insecurities than it is about knowing. And I'm not knocking anyone for assuming. More than likely, if you assume that it's just some malfeasance and it's coming from a bad place, I'd say looking at American history, you're probably right.
Right.
And of course, corporations are not people, meaning they're not singular entities, meaning that you could go in a corporate office and there could be like some people at the top that are like man, we need to fight for this DEI stuff. We need to be committed to it. And there's going to be some people like, we need to get the fuck out of this.
Right.
You know, even with Costco, they had a shareholder vote on it. And the people at the top came out and put out a statement that they wanted this vote to pass, meaning they want to support DEI initiatives, period. Like, they don't give a fuck who's in office. And it passed. And everyone's been applauding that. Many other corporations did the same thing and it didn't pass, whether they put out a statement or not. But they're trying to make it into a shareholder thing, because in America, if you can say it was the money, right, people will justify anything.
Yes, they will.
I mean, look at Stephen A. Smith talking about Snoop Dogg. If you can just put money into something, you can take the morality out of it. So when people are like, hey, that's just the wrong thing to do, it's like, hey, our shareholders, the stock price, come on, it's the money. That's why we had to do it. It's not that we don't like black people or women or gay people or any other minority. It's just, guys, this is what happened when we went into the shareholders meeting, as if it is absence of any moral quandaries right, or agendas, right? Okay. So Target comes out, we're done with DEI, right? And just like many other corporations, people got very mad. Except there's a difference with Target and other companies in their DEI, and we'll tell you that right after the break, okay? Because I'm still gonna, while talking about this capitalism, I still need to get paid. So we gotta figure out a way to make money. Guess we're gonna be our own DEIs. So I just want to tell y'all, Blackout Test, we done with DEI on this podcast.
Not with this black ass name.
Master Trump, please don't get us. Be right back. Where was I at? So Target is like, we getting rid of the DEI. And I think the reason it's different for Target is that Target's DEI initiatives included a lot of partnering with black businesses and brands. Mm-hmm. And now I am making a distinction between businesses and brands, and we'll get to that in a second.
Right, because they're not the same.
Because they aren't the same, and that frames a lot of this. And I would like to thank Bossy and Ray, Bossy and Ray Sani. We have a group chat, and you know, this is why I love them, because they're so smart, they're so thoughtful, they're so insightful with everything, and they're people that, as like I said, I only count my friendships as if I can't disagree with you without the threat of like we can't be friends anymore, I can't exist in those relationships. I can't have a friend like that.
Me either.
And I wouldn't call someone like that my friend.
Right.
And so with this Tabitha Brown thing, we were kind of disagreeing, and I felt strongly, and Ray felt strongly, and they provided more information and stuff that I didn't even have or just didn't think about in that way. And I think at some point we came to essentially a consensus, even if it's not necessarily 100% aligned,
right,
but to a point where I was like, oh, I see what y'all saying now, and I didn't see it before. So I think it's important but the distinction was brand versus business. Okay, so that's why this is important, and maybe this will give other people insight that I didn't have coming into this. Because I think right now, how it's mostly played out is I like Tabitha Brown or I don't like Tabitha Brown.
Right, you let online tell it, it's that simple.
Yeah, and I don't like doing that.
Right.
On our show. If I do that, I like to be self-aware enough to say that's what I'm doing.
Same.
To be like, hey, I just don't like this person, and it doesn't matter that they're making a good point.
Agreed.
You know, but most people aren't that self-aware, so they work backwards from, I don't like this bitch, to let me tell you why she the worst, you know, and
right,
she's a coon or whatever. And I didn't want to go there.
Mm-mm.
But brands versus businesses is essential to how to evaluate this for me. Anyway, so we'll get to that. They partnered with brands and businesses, and they said, hey, you sell products that are for black hair, and right now you're selling them out of your shop or your kitchen or your LL, like whatever your small time means of production are, right? Well, we're selling that. You're selling that on your own, and yes, you can reach a certain amount of people, but it's not the same as if your products were on the shelves of Target.
Right. Because
if your products were on the shelves of Target, you signed a distribution deal with us. And I don't know the inner workings of these deals, so forgive me, because I don't want to, I'm assuming certain things that I don't know.
Right. You know, because the thing is, I could see Target going, you're doing great, but if you get on our shelves, you could be introduced to a whole new set of people that didn't even know your brand existed, whatever it may be.
It's very valid. I mean, yes. and just even if you knew they existed, how many of us buy black people products on social media, Instagram?
I do.
And it's constantly like sold out. You got to wait because they don't have the inner structure to be able to handle something that Target would allow you to be able to handle, possibly.
Yes.
And so hopefully with this investment from Target or this splitting partnership money, whatever, you end up upping your stock, you end up upping your ability to create more, to invest in your business, and then suddenly it's like male hair products or male, however you spell it, M-E-I. All of a sudden it's everywhere.
Yes.
As opposed to like, oh, this is this mom and pop thing, or you got to go to DC to pick up this thing from the spice shop or whatever.
Right. Or I can only see it on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, you know, and things like that. A lot of times they do have their own sites, but yeah, there are people that even somebody just recently, I bought some stuff, and now first time I went, they was like sold out. Yeah. We not gonna have no more to the end of the month. You're like, oh, shit, I guess I'll wait to the end of the month. But
and so. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but yeah, like you said, that does make a big difference, because they're low. I'm only gonna make X amount. When it sell out, that's it.
Right. And there's a way where you find something where you're like, I'm in Target and I'm looking in the hair products aisle, and it's like normally I gotta get one or two choices. Oh, wait a minute, they got bevel in here. Like I can get, so some people could discover it because it's in there.
Yes.
You know, bevel's a great example. So I think that's why you saw a lot of these deals get signed, is the DEI, you know, that now it's called DEI. But at the time, I really think it was just George Floyd. Hey, we're listening. Mm-hmm. We at Target,
we see you and we hear you.
Right. And and I said it when it fucking happened. I was like, this is not what we asked for. But I won't blame a single black person for getting that check.
I don't either. But yes, this is not what we asked for.
This was not the ask. The ask was stop killing us.
Right.
What you said was, here are some jobs. Here are some business opportunities. We're opening up the profit margins for black people. Mm-hmm. And I said, fine, you know, and I don't blame you. I can't prove any of this. You hope you get everything on your own merit. But I mean, all of a sudden, you know, Spotify's knocking on our door. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Bomani got a TV show on HBO. Could be DEI, could be it was just coincidence. We'll never fucking know, because at that time they were giving black people a chance that they typically weren't giving things.
Right.
So, and they stuck with this commitment longer than I thought they would. If I'm being fair, if I'm being honest with everybody, I thought this shit had a much closer timeline of a couple years. And I mean, if we're being fair, like I said, it lasted from basically like in the middle of Trump's administration to all the way to the end of Biden's. Mm-hmm. So probably somewhere between like 6 to 8 years or some shit, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I didn't begrudge anybody, but I just never trusted it because it's not real. Right. I know what's real in America. This shit ain't real. Mm-mm. And so get your money while you can, but save the money and hopefully you can do something with it. Invest it into your own thing, your own product, right? So people sign these deals. Black brands suddenly are in Target, and it makes them a little bit different than some of these other places. And I'm not knocking these other places for sure, but I'd say Target feels like more of a betrayal because they did commit in a way that other brands just didn't.
Agreed.
You know, I still remember like Walmart putting a couple black brands, like here's some black ice cream or some shit, but it all seemed to be like kind of fleeting.
Right, and you never pushed it, you never promoted it, didn't know, you know, so it's
Well,
like,
I can't say they didn't push or promote it because we heard about it and we did black capitalism segments because we read articles and we saw ads and stuff for it, but it just didn't feel like this is here to stay is what I'm saying. Like it did. I didn't go.
It wasn't like a full-fledged commitment.
Yeah, this sweet potato pie ice cream, which sounds delicious, and I'm definitely gonna go get me some. It didn't seem like, and it will be here for the rest of our lives. You're gonna go to Walmart and get sweet potato ice cream. It felt like
after a certain period of time, you're gonna go in there, that bitch gonna be gone, and you're gonna be finding no more.
Yeah, it could still be in there. I don't know.
Right.
I just know that the feelings and the vibes from Target versus these other companies felt more like, no, this is a partnership.
Right.
Us and Bevel are partnered before DEI push and before the George Floyd, and we're just upping what we already do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of black people really fuck with Target. Mm-hmm. You know, because of that, I think partially, and also because it's like a bougie or Walmart to make you feel like you're doing something to be in Target as opposed to Walmart. Right. Whatever. So in comes these brands and in comes Tabitha Brown. So they partner with Tabitha Brown, and they partner with her much in the way that they partner with like some of these famous white women actresses and musicians and shit. Mm-hmm. So what I mean is, and this is why I said brand versus business. This is why it's important. Partnering with a cosmetic brand that has a product, possibly a storefront, possibly houses their own supply of things.
Yeah, they're very independent.
Partnering with them is different than partnering with, and let's not say Tabitha Brown, but let's say Victoria Beckham. Someone said in the chat. Let's say Victoria Beckham. When you partner with Victoria Beckham, and I think what happens is they come to you with a bunch of options, and they're like, hey, this fabric, this design, do you want to do dresses? Do you want to do athletic wear? Do you want to sell kitchen stuff, right? And then you pick, and I'm sure you have input, right? Like, mm-hmm. I want flowers on my dresses.
I want this, I want that. Yeah, it's not like they totally run it. You do have some say so.
Yeah,
yes.
Like, I'm not trying to take away anyone's agency, but I'm just saying, to me, that's different than I have Bevel, and if this partnership doesn't work out, or even if it is working out, if someone says, I just want to go to bevel.com and buy some supplies, they can get them. Whereas with Tabitha, I don't think it was a situation where Tabitha's making dresses so you can go to tabitha.com and be like, she got a dress in a warehouse somewhere, she's gonna mail me.
Right.
As opposed to like a hair product or something, right? This is what and like I said, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but this is just the way it's been explained to me.
Because there is a difference in my mind.
So that's more of a brand partnership to me than a partnership of an actual like business partnership, right?
Right, because for the business, like you say, it's if we with Target, we cool. If we ain't, you can still get our shit outside of this relationship. You can be like, if you opted not to deal with Target, you can still go to bevel.com and purchase Bevel and still get Bevel sent to you directly.
And the other thing about this is inventory, meaning if Target says we're getting out of the Bevel game, I can go get Bevel outside of Target. Mm-hmm. Whereas if Target says they're getting out of the Tabitha Brown game, first of all, dog, it's hard to find her shit in your store.
Yes, it is.
Meaning you guys didn't supply this as a staple. You supplied this as a novelty that is like Tabitha Brown and her face and her partnership is what we're really selling. Tabitha Brown is the smiling face you're supposed to see that makes you go, oh yeah, Target, the home of black people and that are not in niceness and everything else Tabitha represents. Once again, not a knock on her. I have nothing negative to say about her.
But it is true. If I was to go and try to purchase certain things, you let her whole section be fucking sold out.
Yeah, and like I'm sure some stuff is in there, but like the Afro Pick cutting board, you can't find it.
Not in the stores.
And you would think, oh, that's because it's sold out and because so many people wanted it, or they just didn't make enough.
Right.
And when it ran out, they was like, it's out.
Yes, sir.
They didn't keep putting it out there till it's like, we gonna have some on the shelves, and when it runs out, we gonna up our supply and put some more out there.
Right.
Or just it's gonna take forever to get it and all this stuff. So I think that's a big distinction, because what happens next is that Tabitha Brown comes out and puts out a video basically saying that she wants people to be more considerate of the boycott idea for Instagram. So give me a second. For social media, because on social media, of course, this is turning into a flat out boycott Target. We're not going to Target. And I have plenty to say on the boycott situation.
Yeah, yes.
Matter of fact, every time I say the word boycott, go ahead, put that in quotes, because this is like the boycott of the NFL, to where people got upset at the framing of this or how I kept talking about it, but I feel like I've been proven right over the past few years, and I'm not backing down off of it. A boycott is organized. A boycott has ask. A boycott has material demands. A boycott also has a incentive towards the business if they comply. This is not the same as being mad and saying, I'm just not going to do something.
Right.
If you're so mad you'll never watch an NFL game again, it doesn't matter if Kaepernick gets a job or not. You're out and you're never back in. If you're so mad that you won't consume an artist's music, there's not a thing. And the reason I say this, and because online is where we go to be mad, and many times, even when these brands or people do capitulate, you don't come back. Everyone's like, no, fuck you. Chick-fil-A has been stopped donating to these anti-gay causes overseas and shit. They stopped years ago.
And that dude gone
Dan
now.
Cathy, I think, died, but he was not the CEO. Like they took the power from him and said, listen, old man, we not doing that shit.
Right.
And listen, people still be mad at them. And I ain't saying you need to not be mad. I'm saying that wasn't a boycott.
No, it was not.
You're done. You were done. You found something out you didn't like, and you went, I don't give a fuck if you correct this or not. We're done. You also didn't organize. So you didn't actually physically go, we got this many people, and we are all signing a pact. We are all agreeing, and we are going to withhold a certain amount of money until we get a thing that we want, and then we will repatriate the business. No, that's what the bus boycott was. That's what organizing looks like. Matter of fact, shout out to Al Sharpton. Costco said they're doubling down. They're staying committed to DEI. You know what Al Sharpton did? He physically went and organized groups of black people, and they had a buy-in at Costco.
A buy-in.
Meaning they went and physically, not on some online, we just talking shit. Some accountability physically with their hard-earned dollars. They organized a meeting up there, driving up there, whatever, bus people up there. And they physically made they recorded it, and they made a actual commitment to buy their groceries from there.
Yes.
That's organizing power. And I know y'all don't really fuck with Al Sharpton like that. I do, but I know a lot of people that roll their eyes at Al Sharpton like he ain't nobody. He's just a race baiting con man and all this shit. But at the end of the day, that's more powerful than you tweeting, well, that's it, I'm done with this.
Right.
He go do it. If it's so fucking easy, get your ass out of the chair and go do it if it's that easy. But no, it's easier to tweet about it and judge everybody and fold our arms and call ourselves activists and say we're boycotting when we're not doing that work.
No.
Activism is work. And if you don't do the work, I'm not giving you the credit. I'm not giving you the glory.
I am not.
So shout out to Al, because he did it. All right. That being said, of course, Tabitha comes and turns on the camera, goes on Instagram, and wants to address this. So here's what she said.
There. Y'all all right? I know. It has been.
And the reason I'm playing is because I didn't want to take her too much out of context. I wanted people to see and hear for themselves.
Right, what she had to say. Yes.
Maybe I can play this whole thing. Maybe I can't. I don't know how long it is.
A tough week, right? And baby, it's been a tough 2025, and we are still in January. But I know many of you are asking and have asked and sent me messages about the recent DEI announcements at Target as well. And as disheartening as it is for me, I'm not the only one affected by this, right? It's for everyone who is a woman-owned business, minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses. It's for so many of us who work so very hard to be placed into retail, to finally be seen and approved for retail. Because contrary to whatever the world might tell you, it has been very hard for Black-owned businesses to hit shelves, right? Which is why it's such a big deal when we do finally land inside of retail. So it is definitely heartbreaking to feel unsupported, right? However, I am in business in multiple ways with Target, with Walmart, and Amazon, right? I sell Donna's Recipe, my hair care products, right, are on Amazon. They're also in Target. And of course, I have a huge partnership with Target. I sell my seasonings at Walmart. I do business all over, just like many other people. And what I can tell you is, if we all decide to boycott and be like, no, we're not spending no money at these organizations. Listen, I get it. And if that's how you feel, honey, I 1000% get it. But so many of us will be affected, and our sales will drop. Our business will be hurt. And if any of you know business, it doesn't just happen overnight where you can just go take all your stuff and pull it off the shelves. There's a process, and then you gotta, like, where are you gonna put it? You gotta have a place to store it. That's money, right? You gotta have another place to sell it, which is almost impossible sometimes. And even if you sell online, it's a process when it comes to business. And everyone does not have the funds or the means or the availability, the space to house their own products.
So that's one of the reasons I said, like, some of these companies, and keep in mind, like, I'm not saying it's easy. Like, if you were in the hair care business and you had your own inventory and your own products and everything, right? But you were on Target shelves, and suddenly you're not, or everyone is saying we're divesting from Target, I'm going to go to you online. There is still a very good chance you're about to be out of stock and overwhelmed in a way that you cannot meet demand, because that was the point of Target, is they were helping you meet demand in a passive way,
right?
Where you just shipped out a certain amount of products, or it was made somewhere, and then it was always in a place where people could just go get it. Mm-hmm. Now that is not possible, it will stress a business. Most people just see money in very simplistic terms, and they just go, well, you got the money, so clearly that fixed everything. It's like, no, I won't be able to meet demand, even if you think this is a good thing. Right. I'll probably get more money when y'all come directly to me than if y'all go through Target anyway. So, like, it's not a bad thing per se. You're trying to do a good thing. But yeah, there are consequences to the good thing. There are changes I have to go through as a business and things I have to deal with. I think those are everything she's saying is a valid point that is presented with nuance that I think cannot exist online. Because two competing narratives feel like one has to win. It can't be That is a good point, but also boycotting Target is a good point. It has to be, this selfish bitch just wants her money. She don't care about black people. And I'm like, no, I can see what she's saying. And if your goal was to help the black businesses still, like, because the whole point of divesting from Target is you ain't helping black businesses, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere because I like to support black businesses. She's like, that may be a process that is easier said than done for the black businesses you want to help. There may be another way to help them in the meantime,
right?
Until we can get to a point where you can say and do exactly what you mean. Meaning, you may need to buy things in Target for now until 3 months from now. Businesses are prepared enough, because this also came as a shock for them,
right?
Businesses have adjusted enough for you to come and get these hair products and these seasonings or whatever directly from us or from other retailers once we set up some sort of business with them. But as of right now, everyone's kind of gonna be shit out of luck,
right? And also because we talked about this before, and I feel particularly with a lot of the online recourse, like you said, it's always sides to everything, and there's no nuance. And there is, in my personal opinion, particularly since it's Tabitha Brown, a subsection of people who never liked her. Yeah. They never liked her. They never liked the kindness, the sweetness. So many people have said, I don't have a problem with her. I enjoy her. But a lot of people called her fake and all these other things. Like a lot of people have already had negative things about it. A lot of people have jealousy in their heart. Yeah. They should have been picked as their product or whatever the case may be. So when a lot of these things hit online, this was just an excuse. The same thing. And I feel like same thing with Lizzo and some of these other people. Yeah. You don't say shit because you don't want to go against the crowd, against the trend. But the second anything happens and you quote unquote feel like it allows you or it gives you the opportunity to come out and talk shit about somebody you feel quote unquote justified now to mix and blend yourself in with other people.
It's the foci.
Yes, because it's not real.
You're like, well, you never supported them, so you're fake boycotting because you actually were never. You can't hurt Tabitha Brown other than to just not like her online, right? Because you can't take anything away from her. You weren't buying her products and you never liked her and you thought she was fake and you didn't like her. Her husband used to be a cop, and we've all seen it. And I do think that is a very real part of the sentiment. I don't think it's the prevailing overall sentiment, but a lot of times those are the loudest people online and they lead the charge.
Yes, they do.
I think a lot of people just disagree with the sentiment of what she's saying here. And then once people disagree, it's like all the guns come out. It's like, oh, okay, well then now we can say whatever, like you a mammy, you Aunt Jemima, like all this negative racially charged stuff that I think is actually pretty anti-black in itself.
Yes, it is.
Because a lot of stuff about Tabitha Brown I think has been misunderstood, meaning that, because I'm not a religious person, really, and I'm not a big fan of the God bless me, Jesus, this and that. That's I don't knock anyone that's into it, but it's not my belief system. Like, I don't think you're making it because you got blessed and everybody else is struggling because they didn't get blessed or whatever. I don't think it's I don't really think it's a religious thing to have prosperity or to make it or whatever. And maybe you would be as grateful if you were broke. I don't know. I just know it's like watching a football game and a quarterback wins and in the press conference, like, first I want to thank Jesus, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But to me, I'm not like, Jesus got Patrick Mahomes that touchdown.
You had to put some work in.
Yeah, so I'm not knocking Jesus. I'm not knocking people's religion, but I don't need to accept that as reasoning. It's not the reason I've ever supported anyone. And I know she's heavily into like Jesus and God and stuff like that. And that's a big part of her following, is because of that. But now we talking business.
Yes.
So like, at this point, it's not a spiritual thing. It's a business thing. This is just X's and O's, money, black, red, green, all that shit, right? So I think for me, I've never had a disdain for her being religious, but a lot of people I know have, and they don't like that she's used all that God talking shit like that. They're like, no, you just need to be regular, basically. Whatever my belief system is, you need to hold that. And I've always, because I think partially because I'm not religious and from the South, I've always kind of allowed people to, whatever spiritual thing they fuck with, as long as it's not, in my opinion, something that is having negative repercussions, I'm cool with it. So like, cause I can't be using that. I wouldn't fuck with anybody down south if I was so strictly like, you need to believe what I believe.
Right.
How would I ever get anything done?
Agreed.
So I'm just like, like Reverend William Barber to me is a man who is motivated by religion to do the right thing.
And he be doing that work.
So I'm not going to admonish him for being religious if I'm like, well, it seems like he's doing the right shit. But at the same time, if it's Creflo Dollar, it's not, at that point, it's not the religion, it's just the man. How you move make me think about how I don't fuck with you.
The man.
I'm not turned off by you saying God. I'm turned off by you saying God is the reason you need to be rich. That's the difference, right? I've never felt Tabitha Brown was using God as a prosperity situation, but I also don't follow her that closely, so maybe she has and I just haven't seen it. But for me, she just always seems to be kind of humbly religious, and mostly importantly, and this I said from day one, she has elite, nice TM. And I that's not a knock on her. Mm-mm. I think Tamron Hall has that.
Yes.
Drew Barrymore has that.
It's a muscle.
It's
everybody ain't got it.
Yeah, it's the reason that I told people Megyn Kelly would never make it on morning TV. She don't got it.
You have to smile. You
gotta turn it on. You think Al Roker is that nice if you meet this nigga in Kroger? No. But he can. You say 3, 2, 1, bam.
Action.
He got it. You know what I'm saying? Like when I worked on Game Theory, that shit is on demand. I'm not saying Bo is nice because I don't think he's like nice TM, but I mean the skills that it takes to be a talk show host. He worked on it with an acting coach. Like that's a fucking thing where they're like, you need to be able to perform this. She's great at performing. She rose to power from TikTok, or prominence. That's not I said power. She rose to prominence from TikTok because during that pandemic when everybody was down and feeling bad and depressed, she would turn that phone towards her, talk directly into it like she's doing right here.
Right.
But now everybody's being mad at her for it. But she used to make people feel good.
Yes.
And not just white people. Because what's happening is now everything's becoming racialized and they're turning her into a caricature. But the first people I heard talking good about her were black people.
Yes. That's how I heard about her, because before then I had never heard about her.
And what happened is that her skill of doing that, which is a nebulous skill, but still her nice TM skill was so elite. It transcended into this other space that was outside of blackness. It was just everybody wants to love this. And I'll get more into the TikTok of it in a second, but the general consensus being, I see why she thought she could soothe everybody in the midst of all this angst and honestly talk to black people as a intra-community conversation, not a, guys, you need to do this for the white people, but in a, hey, there's black creators out here that y'all want to support. I'm just telling y'all it's going to be a little more difficult than just boycott Target. We solved the problem.
Right.
I'm saying we still do want your support. And it may be more complicated than it looks. Like if you're, and I'm seeing through the words, through the lines here, but clearly what I'm picking up is, if you're wondering why I can't just pull my shit off the shelf and sell it to y'all directly, it's because I don't have the inventory or the infrastructure and I still am under contract. There's a way to take this to where she's saying I'm with y'all. But if you don't see me moving in a way immediately like, we out, understand that me being with y'all is not just a thing I can just do.
Agreed. And it's one of these things where, and we talked about this and I will share this. Honestly, this right here, in my opinion, is a big ass distraction from Trump. That's why it lasted so long. That's why people still talking about it. Right. Like it's all types of shit that's been happening, y'all. All types of shit. I'm not trying to be funny. That's actually bigger than this right here. People actually should be really talking about. But people are like dragging and they're going back and forth and they're fist fighting because they're hurt, they're sad, they're depressed, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, and they're anxious. And they have all these big feelings and they don't know what to do with it. And this right here is a temporary distraction, truth be told, from the real issues.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this is that people, it's online, so they need to be mad. They're always mad about some shit, right? But what I think is interesting here is I think there are reasonable ways to be upset about shit that people do in the name of race.
Yes.
But I think they've caricatured her into this idea of almost like Stephen A. Smith defending Snoop Dogg. Like I'm supposed to play this video and be like flaming hot because she said, listen, if black people want to get money, y'all need to stop hating. I'm a black person. Like, she didn't say that. She said, I understand. And I'm taking her in good faith, which is another thing I'm allowed to have because I'm not really hyper online with her. Like, I don't know her. I've never been invested enough to not like her or to dislike her. I've never been invested enough. So to me, I'm capable of being like, this seems like a bad situation for her and for black people and everyone involved. She's trying to figure out a way to navigate this while still maintaining her level of integrity. And all the people online are trying to find a way to also navigate this while maintaining their integrity. That's why they're calling this a boycott when really they're just mad. But she goes on, I'll play a little bit more, but she goes on to kind of say what she thinks a solution would be.
Right. But the thing that concerns me the most, and I want you to hear me and hear me well, if we all decide to stop supporting said businesses and say, I can't buy nothing from there, even the businesses who were affected by the DEI ban, right? What that does is you take all our sales and they dwindle down, and then those companies get to say, oh, your products are not performing, and they can remove them from the shelves and then put their preferred businesses on the shelves. And then what happens to all the businesses who've worked so hard to get where they are? Then what happens, right? Now, I know that something that could solve it is ownership of these big corporations, right? It's a long way to go there. There are amazing companies like the Village Market in Atlanta, right, who support small businesses, and you can go in there and there's some amazing things that you can buy. But it's one store and it's very small. We're talking about mass market. You can't build that overnight. Do we all sometimes have these big dreams and aspirations to do that? Absolutely, right? But it is easier said than done, but it's not impossible. But until then, and in order to get there, we unfortunately have to play the game. And in playing that game, we got to be smarter than the ones who think they're in control. Okay? And I say that to say, don't allow trying to be mindful with how I say this.
That's the other thing. She probably's fucking with her contract even doing this. Like, honestly, if of all the things, like Ray Sani said that she thought this was a misstep for Tabitha to come up with the compromise that she had, which is, and I'll stop it in here, but she was gonna say frequent the businesses of Target and only buy black products and basically go shop for your groceries other places, which could work. I mean, it's valid. It's not and I know some people will try to simplify it, where Target still gets the money, but no, it is different. If you normally go in Target and you go to get Bevel, but you also spend $100 on groceries, and now you start going to Target and you spend $7 on Bevel and leave, yes, it will make an impact. Yes, it will send a message. That being said, I don't mean any offense to Tabitha, but it's the same way I put boycott in quotes. If you're not organizing it, it's not real. It's just your opinion. Just like all these people talking about boycott, they just giving an opinion on social media. She's entitled to give her opinion, but this is not organizing. This isn't activism. Now maybe she's encouraging people to be activists like this,
right?
But you need, and I think this is an admirable version of activism that would send a message about the solidarity of black people that I don't think is possible, that I don't believe in anymore. I don't believe black people are in solidarity like that. But anymore. It would warm my heart if someone could organize something this nuanced to send a message to corporate America like, we fuck with each other, we're not fucking with you. So I'm getting my eggs from Costco, I'm getting my hair products from here because y'all are the ones that have it on your shelves. You're the only place I can physically get it. But I'm not going to fuck with you in any other way. And we're also not providing mutual aid. There's no like consideration. You know, it's like the bus boycott, people with cars giving people rides. This ain't, none of this shit that's happening online is organized. It's just opinions and people getting mad at each other for navigating the best of horrible circumstances that black people are going through right now.
Right.
So I think her idea has merit, and I think she allowed for the fact that people would reject the idea flat out and be like, I'm just not fucking with Target. And she says she understands, and I'm taking her at face value on that. And of course, selfishly, she benefits from her version of it, obviously more than just I'm divesting from Target and I'm not buying anything. She would get $0, as with every other black person that has a brand partnership. If you shop at Target for just their stuff, they get some money, and maybe it helps them to adjust to this new reality where one day no one's shopping at Target. I don't know. But anyway, my point being, I didn't see this and think, what a selfish coon. I saw this and was like, I see what you're saying. I just don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what else I don't think is going to happen? The fucking boycott.
Right.
I think it'll go for, some people will be mad for a little bit, but because it's not being organized, I think it's just going to go individually. How long are people mad? And individually, whenever people just decide to not, it's just like when the Chick-fil-A boycott, and you look around and the lines out the fucking door, and it's not because conservative Republicans are there.
All across
it's because people
just
stopped giving a fuck after a few days.
Yes, they did.
Or not a few days. It's not fair. But yeah,
a few years. Yes,
it wasn't years, but it was like a few weeks, and I was like, the line back to normal.
Yeah, and also it's one of those things. I feel like this the same way I feel like Chick-fil-A. We talked about this before. For a lot of people, it's a boycott. For a lot of people, Chick-fil-A wasn't in their area, wasn't in their situation, like it wasn't around them. Or a lot of people do this to make themselves feel superior to everybody else, to make the decisions that they don't make. And instead of them going, this is my decision, I'm okay with my decision, it's okay for you to make your decision, you can't leave it at that. And a lot of times, not all these people, a lot of times, particularly online, they will actually go and start confrontations. Why are you fighting me?
Yeah, it's because the boycotts online and everything online is about us signaling to each other. You know, I don't get mad at people when they do this, but I just kind of brush it off at this point. It's like when someone lets me know every time the NFL comes up, I don't watch the NFL. Fine, but you know what I don't do? I don't listen to R. Kelly. You know when it comes up? Never. Because in general, it's just not really a thing that I didn't do it for you. Right. I did it for me. I didn't do it to send a message to him or a message to the world. I just stopped liking this motherfucker shit. Period. Like it's like if it's that easy for me to give up, it's really not that remarkable. I moved on.
Yes.
And I think honestly, when people bring it up, it's because they kind of haven't really moved on, and it's like it's they're still upset and it still has emotional resonance with them, so they have to bring it up every time they think of it. Like, and that's why I gave it up. You know, it's like how alcoholics have to remind themselves, and I'm mad at alcohol because look what it fucking did to my life. And like this, it's different than just saying I don't want that drink.
And for me, a prime example of this, and no matter how you feel about this pizza, me and Roger had to sit down and have a conversation. I went through this with Papa John's because I was very
we talked about it on the show.
Upset with Papa John's, and Roger, you know that's my favorite fucking pizza in the whole wide world. I don't care how you feel about it, I fucking love it. And so they did everything that I want them to do, and Roger would be like, do you want? I'd be like, no, because I was still very mad and angry and upset, and I wouldn't let the shit go. Like, I went a very, very long time, and if Roger hadn't sat down and convinced me, I probably would never ate another slice of Papa John's again. But like
I know how much you loved it, but two, I'm a logic person. I would like to I like being around people whose logic I trust.
Right.
And if I can't question or interrogate your logic, then I don't feel like we're having a real conversation.
Agreed.
And it's not about trying to win or break you down, but I had to ask you, well, what do you want from them?
Right.
Because they fired Papa John, John Schnatter or whatever. They invested in black entrepreneurs. They invested in black communities. They went and brought in like black people within their management. Okay, what is it that you want? Because
what is your demand, Karen?
a boycott has demands. And once demands are met, you're back on the fucking bus.
Right.
That's the rule.
That's the rule.
If not, it's just not a boycott. And if it's just I'm mad, I'm mad. I respect being mad, but just we just need to admit that that's what it is, you know? But yeah, it is very similar to that, Karen.
Right. And so for me, I had to come to that realization. So I do understand, because every time it will be bought up or anything like that, I see a commercial, I get mad. So I do understand people's perspective. People are hurt. They're disappointed by whatever this thing is. And so to keep yourself consistent, you have to remind everybody else around you why you made the choice. But baby, ain't nobody questioning your choice.
Yeah.
It was all your choice to begin with. And you don't have to prove nothing to me.
And I hate to seem like an asshole, but that's your choice.
Right.
You didn't organize with me. You just decided to do a thing and judge the rest of us for not doing what you did. That's not the same as being in community and being like, we will do this until they do that, and then we will all come back and do blank. You didn't do that. You just said, I'm not going to do a thing. And I respect that, but I respect that as a personal choice. So it has no bearing on my personal choice.
Right.
Because if I go through your life, I'm going to find something where I decided I'm out and you stayed in. And now, and you ain't gonna want to hear that shit.
No, you're
not. And I don't blame you for not wanting to hear that shit. That was my personal thing. I didn't consult with you first.
Right.
I just decided I wasn't fucking with that. Okay. So, that's part of the issue, is that even her solution is not organized. So it's just really giving her opinion. It's boycotting quotes as well. We'll play another thing so we can get paid as if we have a brand partnership, because we don't have a brand partnership with Target. We gotta get paid through these commercials. All right, I'll start trying to wrap it up, but this is the other point I got to that I was thinking about with her. She's a brand both personally and professionally. So unlike, say, a cosmetic brand, and I'm sure she has like she named her cosmetics and her spices and stuff, but that brand partnership she got with Target, it's her face, her name, right? In a way that I'm sure makes this more personal to her, that in a way that it wouldn't. It's like saying, it's like how the Black Guy Who Tips is a podcast. It's not my name. Somebody says, fuck the Black Guy Who Tips. There's still a level of difference where I'm like, that's my podcast. Yes, it's personal. Yes, I pour my life into it. But okay, you don't like my podcast. Whereas if they said, fuck Rod Morrow, it's like, hey, bitch, who the fuck you think you talking to? Which is why I'm glad we didn't name the show the Rod Morrow Show or whatever, you know?
I'm glad to.
But I'm sure that there's a conflation in her brain with, you know, we not fucking with your brand because you align with Target. That feels like you're taking a swipe at my personal integrity, as opposed to just saying this is just a decision I made. Even with her saying she understands it, I just can't imagine how any person can completely disassociate themselves from their brand when their brand is their name.
Right.
So there's an emotional resonance there. The other thing is she's representation to a lot of people. And Target align with her because she's representation to a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
And I think about this with Tabitha. I think I'm empathetic towards Tabitha Brown in general, because she represents something that I feel like went away, which was like the Southern black woman with this like maternal whatever, like this, because people started associating it with like Aunt Jemima and fucking pancakes and slavery and shit,
right?
And mammies and all this shit. And I am down here. sometimes there's just black women like that, and there's not a racial connotation to them. Karen has a very thick Southern accent and a very honey baby sweetie ass demeanor when she's out talking to people, but she ain't nobody's fucking mammy, and I would slap the shit out of you if you said something like that to her, right? So I kind of understand the level of like representation and love within the community she can experience. I feel like it's once whiteness comes into the equation, because they consume all things, this is consumerism at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
It changes that dynamic even for black people. We willingly or unwillingly or unthinkingly kind of cede power to whiteness. No, it's like when black people go see a movie and white people are in the audience, and suddenly black people have taken themselves out of just their personal enjoyment and into this, I gotta monitor these white people. Like, are these white people laughing at the right things? Are they saying the right thing? Are they mad? Are they sad? We're no longer existing in just our personal individual headspace of, I like the movie.
Right.
You know, I forget who it was that talked about this, but I want to say it was James Baldwin. The movie, was it called The Fire Next Time? It was a movie.
We went to the theater to go see.
Samuel L. Jackson
did the voice.
I remember listening to podcasts where black people had went to see it, and almost every single podcast I listened to, and I only listened to black podcasts talk about this, I didn't give a fuck what white people thought, but almost every single black podcast I listened to brought up how many white people they watched it with and how uncomfortable it was to have white people see this. And all of a sudden their thoughts were about the white people in the audience and not the documentary and what you thought of it. And was it good? Was it bad? How did it work out for you?
Okay. Our experiences was completely different, because when I went in, that's right, I Am Not Your Negro. I think that was the name of it. Thank you.
That was the name of it.
And I think for me, I went in and I watched it and I enjoyed it. You know, we talked about it afterwards.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to relitigate the review of it. Right. I'm saying that's a phenomenon black people deal with.
Yes,
it's like once something gets the attention of people, especially white people, but people from outside of our community, there's a different type of consciousness that comes in to where we're now hall monitors of whiteness, as opposed to just, I enjoyed the black thing because it's for me and it's black. And if white people got something out of it, I guess. But that shit ain't got nothing to do with me.
Yes, right.
And I'm not saying I've completely decolonized my mind, but I'd say
I'm
a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
I am unconcerned with whiteness as far as how they consume black art.
Agreed.
It ain't shit we can do about it in the first fucking place. And at the end of the day, a lot of times for shit to blow up, white people are going to consume it.
Yes, they are.
And then the third thing is, I believe that culturally, black people in America are the most powerful cultural force on the planet. So I don't think it's even possible for us to have something that stays completely within our community. If it is meant to entertain, it will escape the confines of the community. Because our shit is just too good, and I think that's undeniable. I don't think there's any black secrets left that won't get out. Our slang, our dances, our music, it just some white people gonna hear what's dope and they gonna fuck with it too. So I just can't occupy my mind with too much of them about our shit. I just can't. I think it's a waste of time. So, but for her, I think that's what changed, because I remember the early days of TikTok when she was kind of considered like a black people's thing. And then obviously white people saw it, and this is where we get into the TikTok of it all. Because I'm going to bring it back to TikTok. She is so emblematic of TikTok. Everything good, everything bad. Everything good, everything bad about TikTok. Meaning Sarah Cooper, Matt Rife, what the industries, and these aren't the same industries, that's comedy, but you also have film, television, music. What these industries saw is they used to be industries that were in the business of creating and sourcing and curating art. Now, a long time ago, the ship sailed. They were like, if it's getting clicks, fuck it, whatever.
Right.
But it used to be a time where it's like, Soulja Boy ringtones was one thing, but he was still making music. People still going to his concerts. But once we had social media, especially during the pandemic, where you couldn't physically go to a concert or leave your house, the measurement became the views.
Yes.
And so I think in many cases, these industries had not vetted or even understood why one person gets views and another doesn't. What makes one art form translatable to another medium versus what doesn't.
Right.
It was also another factor that people don't talk about. It was also during the buying up of content wars.
Yeah, that was a big thing all across the social media.
So everybody was trying to buy as much content as they could. These companies were investing like Silicon Valley money, where it was like, get as much market share as you can, and then we'll worry about paying this bill one day, a long time from now.
Yep.
But for now, we buying up Stranger Things and 27 other fucking things, and will we end up not making season 2 of 90% of them? Yep.
All right.
But at one point we had the market share of 40% or whatever, right? That's how everyone was operating. It's why Sarah Cooper gets a Netflix special, and you look at the writers and you look at the cast, and it's like they spent money.
Yes, they did.
They spent the money you spend for like 30 Rock on an hour-long special. And if you watch the special, and I don't mean, it's not her. Understand, nope. This is not about her. Okay? But if you watch the special, you get the feeling they didn't understand what made her so good on TikTok.
Yeah, right. So they didn't understand the assignment. It's
they
like
didn't know how to translate it.
They just threw money and was like, well, you got the money, we ought to be able to do something. It's like, no, you need to replicate the thing that was on TikTok.
And an audience that's not on TikTok all day doesn't really understand the learning curve of why her lip syncing to Trump and doing these act outs is so fucking hilarious to people who are on TikTok all day. So for a lot of them, it's like, you're introducing me to this new thing. It's so unfamiliar. I don't like it. Or you're going to have to tie in Tina Fey and a bunch of other motherfuckers to it before I can even attempt to understand what it is.
Yeah, you're going to have to put the time in to explain, and that's the part that they didn't want to do.
And you're gonna lose people because people don't want to be explained to. It's the same thing with Matt Rife. Matt Rife, comedy riffing, hilarious, heckler, handler, motherfucker, goes to do a stand-up special. Everybody's like, "What the fuck is this shit? Why isn't this just crowd work?" That's
because they was like, that's what I saw on TikTok.
And whether he understood it or Netflix didn't understand, whatever happened, they didn't understand this, or they got afraid and said, this won't translate. We could let you do an hour and a half of crowd work like you do on your TikTok, but honestly, it just, we need you to just come out and do a regular stand-up because nobody knows what the fuck that is. Or like I said, he decided, I'm gonna do it. And the reason I bring up him deciding is because that's the other part of TikTok. When I say she's emblematic of TikTok, how you gonna tell somebody who got it out the mud, we bringing you into a new medium, now you need to listen to these notes, we giving you advice, we telling you how to dress, how to do your hair, your makeup, who can be on your show, what you should talk about.
You don't have no more control for some people. They're like, the fuck is this?
Because this was non-traditional. The people that got on from TikTok, they were not coming in these traditional routes where you kind of have to be vetted, right? So she becomes like black, soothing, maternal vegan, and yet we're not saying world-renowned vegan chef, like she didn't own a restaurant where she was selling vegan food, right? It was in her kitchen showing us how to turn corn on the cob into something else, right? And being like, these corn chicken wings, honey, these are good, and people just ate it up, the AMSR of it and all that stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
So now you're telling me to take her and put her into a Food Network show. But the Food Network show isn't just her making a dish in her kitchen and eating it on camera and telling you it's good. We got to get a game show. We got to have contestants. We got to do this, that, and the other. And eventually you start getting notes. Now, this I know from working in TV. And notes are humbling. They're humiliating. And they're not always right, for the record. But they're part and parcel of TV. And in a lot of times when you're telling somebody who's self-made, who I'm sure has some level of ego, because how could you not? You're a person, just like I have an ego doing this podcast. We have an ego. we're people that give our opinion because we think people want to hear it and that we're saying something unique and different, right? Mm-hmm. Every time you turn on a camera on TikTok to give advice or to soothe other people, like, who are you to soothe me in a pandemic? I don't know you, but you need an ego to feel like I can tell that person it's gonna be okay, and they gonna need to hear that,
right?
And they gonna come back tomorrow because they need to hear the next thing I'm gonna say. Mm-hmm. So I do have an ego, no matter how humble or altruistic or nice I am. You can't have millions of followers that you're giving advice to every day and not have an ego.
Agreed.
So now you got to take notes, and we don't think your hair is not resonating with the audience. We did a focus group thing. Well, I'm out. Fuck this contract. Fuck what, like, I'm not changing. Y'all tried to change me. I'm not changing. You want me to cut down on Jesus or whatever? I ain't doing it. And who knows what it is? It could be something as simple as that or something more sinister. But whatever happened, she stopped doing the Food Network show, and they leaked out like she was just unreasonable. And I'm like, well, if you're self-made, it's kind of hard to listen to somebody that wasn't there with you in the beginning, that doesn't even understand why you big as you are,
right? Telling
you, but this how we do it on TV.
Right.
That doesn't mean that person's wrong, by the way. They could be absolutely right about TV is this how you do it on TV. That doesn't, your shit from TikTok ain't gonna work. But it's just hard to get through the ego of that, and hard to hear that, you know? So she is representation for a group of black women that doesn't really feel represented, that often get talked down to. You know, the people that, like, when it's a Tyler Perry movie, everybody's acting like they're fucking stupid because they like Tyler Perry. Like they don't know that the wigs are bad or whatever, you know?
Tyler Perry know why I came.
Right, exactly. So a lot of these people, I think, are defiantly defending her part and parcel because they're like, I'm just sick of y'all hating on her.
Yes.
And I don't think what she's doing is that bad. I don't think it's sinister. And y'all have always not liked her Southern, big fro, churchy vibe. Y'all ain't never fucked with her anyway, so fuck y'all.
Right.
And like I said, because she's branded herself personally and professionally, there's not a lot of separation even for the fans. Mm-mm. It's hard to say I don't fuck with Tabitha Brown LLC decision while convincing me that no, but I like Tabitha Brown, the person. I just don't think what she's saying about Target and business is right. I think that's fucked up. No, you're saying you think she's fucked up. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big thing. And then the last thing is, I think in America, we're very privileged to see consumerism as activism.
Yes.
You know, I think a broad part of my rejection of almost all the boycott culture bullshit is that in America, we do so little, but pat ourselves on the back for so much.
Right, for being so great. And you be like, nigga, you ain't do shit.
Yeah, and I don't want to give people credit for some shit that they didn't really organize or put no sweat into. So a lot of what we're doing is begging companies to do the thing to make us give them our money. We're not building anything with it. We're not really demanding much. It's show us you kind of want our money, and just, God, please, I just can't wait to give you some money. I just want to give you my money. Whatever. Oh, just Target. People, have my money.
Just don't fuck it up. You don't say shit, I won't say shit, and we can keep this transaction rolling.
And I think it works backwards. So then it becomes what we consume must be good, and what we don't consume must be bad.
Right.
And that's how you end up defending somebody or some shit that you actually wouldn't defend in any other way. Mm-mm. So you end up being like, I spend my money on R. Kelly, therefore R. Kelly did not sexually assault those girls. Yeah, that's how it works.
You make a wild connection, and I'm like, no, baby, these things are not the same. There are a lot of people who are very entertaining that do horrible shit, and I can separate them. Like, everybody has whatever their line is.
But my point being, like, I just think that's why we end up in these situations where people feel the need to have to defend her, and I know her stance is perfectly great and nothing's wrong with it, or go, I gotta attack her because I don't buy her shit anyway, and I'm a good person. It's why, you know, and especially on TikTok, like, you got the whole, like, we boycotting Starbucks. No one has any fucking numbers, proof, there's no, like, it's just, but you feel like you did something because you didn't do anything, meaning you didn't spend money. It's the easiest way to do something.
Yeah, and also a lot of these people claim victory for shit that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That me not doing shit is me claiming victory. You're like, that's not how that
well,
works.
also, I mean, I remember during the NFL ratings going down during the year about Kaepernick. And I thought it was hilarious because black people took credit and white racists took credit.
Yes, they did.
Both sides said they're the reason their ratings went down. Mm-hmm. Maybe they both were right. I don't know who was right, but there's no way they could. I'll put it this way. Maybe they both contributed, but there's no way they could both be right.
Agreed.
Meaning all of them ratings didn't come down because black people decided to stop watching. And all them ratings didn't come down because racist people didn't like Black Lives Matter being on the field or people kneeling. It was probably some of both from two parties that will never give each other credit.
Right.
And whatever your personal belief is the reason you credited for what happened.
Right.
So if you black, you like it's because we stood strong. If you white and you racist, you like it's because we stood strong. We don't like that kneeling. Right? So I think this is another one of those situations where who knows what Target's bottom line is going to end up looking like. But if there's any reduction, it's gonna be that. But here's the thing. I don't like people using consumerism as, especially unorganized consumerism. Like this isn't actual boycott. I don't like using companies' bottom lines as this proves someone right or wrong. And the reason I say that is Chick-fil-A. Because Chick-fil-A's profits went up after they were outed for being anti-LGBTQ. And this is before they divested from that. Mm-hmm. Their profits went up. Conservative people went in line and they bought that shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the liberal people that said they wouldn't ended up sneaking in and eating it like Russell Westbrook on the sideline.
Yes, they did.
And the message, if we let consumerism be and capitalism be our voice, if we accept that premise, the message that Chick-fil-A should have gotten is there's nothing wrong with being anti-LGBTQ. If anything, more people in America seem to want that eat our food. They out here standing in lines. You know, they like they're more fuck morals financially. They're saying our stance is the correct one. Budweiser or whatever, you know, like if we let this be the be all end all, we accept this premise that the moral right and wrong isn't the right and wrong, it's the financial right and wrong,
which are two different things, right?
And like I said, keep in mind this caveat of unorganized quote unquote boycott. Now I'm not talking about an actual boycott. I'm talking about the unorganized, we're just looking at the corporate balance statement at the end of 3 months and going, hey, so and so was right. I'm saying that's in America right now, I wouldn't even count that. If Target's bottom line goes up somehow, if somehow they make a profit next month, I don't think that makes what they did right or okay. It's bigger than money to me. And I know that people like Tabitha Brown and these other black creatives that have aligned with Target, they didn't ask to be pulled into this. I guarantee Target didn't consult any of them about this shit. They just fucking found out like we found out, and then they're spinning in a panic like, what the fuck are we supposed to do?
Right.
Or whatever. But it's an unfortunate situation where people are really upset at anyone who's choosing something even slightly different than them.
Agreed.
Because she still proposed something that I thought was could be effective. I don't think she's doing the work to make it effective, but maybe she will do the work. Maybe I'll look up in a month and be like, oh, she organized that shit. And the powerful statement. You under contract telling people not to fuck with Target, but to fuck with black people in Target, and they're doing it. And that's an amazing statement that you're saying because you're showing some actual organizing power.
Right.
But I got to go all the way back to where we started. When my girl Ray Sani said this is a misstep. And this is the TikTok of it all. It's very TikTok culture to pick up that phone, turn that camera on, and try to soothe everybody. Mm-hmm. That's how she got her start.
Yes, sir.
But honestly, I think she should have did what Victoria Beckham probably did. If Victoria Beckham is still dealing with Target right now, I don't know, or whoever, somebody is dealing with them.
Target,
y'all know
Walmart,
what I mean.
Yes.
Y'all know what I mean. I don't know who, but
Who
somebody in Target, right? The fact that I don't know who is actually the point.
Right.
Somebody in Target has a brand deal with them today. And you know what they did? They didn't say shit. They didn't turn on that camera. They didn't try to reason with anybody. They didn't offer a nuanced solution. They didn't try to ask for empathy. They didn't express any empathy. They said, this shit is above me. It's not really my business or my choice. I signed my contract. I know I can't break it for a year or whatever the fuck. I have nothing to say. And it sucks that people in my comments and they're blaming me and they're saying all this bullshit. But if we're being honest, I can address this shit when I ain't got a contract in a year and there's no penalty for me saying it. And I can come out and tell y'all exactly how I feel, right or wrong. But threading the needle and trying to operate in an atmosphere that is extremely about bad faith, extremely about attacking people. And I always empathize for the people at the center of these things, because people that are reasonable do this all the time because they just don't fucking understand the internet. They'll be like, well, all I said was this. Why she ain't respond? It's like, because there was a bunch of people calling her bed wenches, Aunt Jemima Coons and shit.
Right.
And y'all ignore them as if people are personally supposed to be attacked in that way and be completely reasonable.
Right. Be all the way reasonable. And the thing is, I feel bad for a lot of celebrities once they reach the status, whatever this status is, because it's a lose-lose. You say something, you lose. Right. You don't say shit, you lose. And
once again, they dealing with making a decision in two bad choices.
Right. It is definitely a lose-lose because, and you have people that talk bad about celebrities. Only time we hear about you is when you selling the shit, right, bitch? Right. Because if I talk, I want to get paid. If I'm not getting paid, why am I interacting with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even taking it to that level because they're human beings and sometimes they do want to talk and not be paid. I get that. I get that. That's a human being thing. Your people are going through something right now. You black. You're part of the reason you got this deal because you represent a lot of blackness to people. Right. And you feel a responsibility to say something. Don't make it smart. Don't make it smart. Sometimes the best business decision is just let these motherfuckers that have assumed the worst of you continue to assume the worst, because there's nothing you could have done. This statement, no matter how nuanced it was, I've already seen people telling me how it's bad. If she said nothing, that's bad. If she came out and said, boycott Target, I'm with y'all, fuck them, that is also bad, by the way. People will be like, what a dummy. She crashed out and fucked her bag up over some shit that niggas are going to be shopping for in a week. Like, they not even really organized. They not even... I think the best situation for her would have probably been to say nothing, even if this came from the... like I said, I'm not assuming ill intent. So even if this came from the most positive place you can imagine, it's just no upside to expressing these thoughts in this environment, especially on social media. And
I understand that it's very, very hard. And also I think for a lot of people have never been in a place, never been in a position, nor would they be in a position where hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people are coming at them all at once, asking and or demanding them to say something about a situation. You're not in a position where you have people that are dependent, like their livelihood is tied to you. Yeah. You would never be in this position. So I think that it's really easy for people to be all over the place with these positions. Say something, don't say something. I don't understand, but you have never been in those positions.
But see, that's the thing though, Karen. Everyone feels like they're their own brand, so they think they've been in those positions. Them and their 12 followers, to them is, I'd be Tabitha Brown better than Tabitha Brown would be Tabitha Brown. Right? Like I know the perfect thing to say. Everybody would love me for saying it, but it's mostly because nobody's fucking with you on that level. Right. So you just talking, and you mostly have the privilege of anonymity, meaning that no one's doxing you or looking for you or whatever. But yeah, I think you're right in that it's just hard to imagine yourself in that situation. But also, like, I really think it's hard for a person who has risen to prominence because of their addressing the internet to be told or to even think, this time I shouldn't say shit.
Right. It is very hard, like you said, when that's your brand and human beings want to respond. A lot of y'all want to fist fight your coworkers.
Yeah.
Like, so what are you gonna do when you have thousands of people, millions of people coming and calling you out? You can't fight everybody.
Well, what's funny is that I don't think she even tried to fight anybody.
No.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. People are phrasing this or presenting this like she was out here just talking greasy. I think she sounded reasonable and did not amp up and didn't even respond to people saying horrible things to her, which I know happens because it's the internet and she's a black woman.
Agreed.
She didn't even address them. She seemed to only address the people coming in good faith. And because she said anything at all that wasn't just straight up boycott, she's being called all kinds of shit, and it just is what it is. The other thing is the hyper online people don't represent the majority of people. There's a lot of people I'm sure I could walk through. The next Hornets game we go to, I could stop every single person and go, what you think about Tabitha Brown? And the vast majority of them are going to be like, the woman with the fro?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The seasoning
like,
lady? Yeah.
It's online and it becomes hyper representative and it makes you feel a certain way because that's what it does. But
right.
I don't know that this is actually the biggest deal. And the thing about the show, the last thing I was thinking, I don't think I'm going to tell the people at Inflection Network to clip any of this and put it online. Because that's the problem. I think that's what I love about the podcast. Mm-hmm. If you want to hear our thoughts on this, I'm going to need you to buy into this hour and a half.
Ain't that the truth?
And that's the thing that keeps us from having to constantly be attacked online and go back and forth with people. They might not like that idea. They might go, well, even if people are attacking you, at least it's going viral. And people, I'm not going to send this clip to them. If they put it out somehow, just know they put it out without us saying to put it out. Because I really think, especially after reading that book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, I really think losing context and taking clips and making everything short when it's something this complicated actually hurts the conversation and hurts the quality of the content. I would like to make good content that you had to invest an hour and a half, or at least say, I listened to 10 minutes and turned it off, and know that you missed an hour and 20 minutes of shit that made sense, that may have explained some questions or some misgivings you had. And maybe you just say, I'm not qualified to comment on that, and we don't get as many comments. I'm okay with all that.
Same.
But I think this world where you're trying to talk about a complex thing like a boycott or Target, boycott in quotes, in 10 minutes and explain to them black business and all this shit, all you did was set it up for them to take a 1 minute clip and tell everybody you ain't shit. So it's a waste of time.
I 100% am in agreement with you, and you know, it's one of those things. The next 72 to 48 hours, y'all gonna be talking about something else. Like, and I mean that with all my heart. Most people will not care.
Maybe I think people hold on to shit like this for a long time. They're very negative. Like every time her name comes up, they'll be going at her or bringing this up in some way because that's the currency of online. Even if the vast majority of the world could give a fuck.
And the reason why I said that, yes, you are still going to have a subsection of people that are going to feel one way or the other. But I'm talking about the way the internet, the machine is going to move past this moment.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it won't be the number one trending topic forever. I'm saying for her personally in her life,
right?
People will associate this moment, and less importantly, the 10 minutes that she talked, and more importantly, they'll associate the sound bites, the clips, other people's opinions about it more than what she said. Because once I saw the whole, and I didn't even play the whole 10 minutes, but once I heard the whole 10 minutes myself, I was like, okay, I see what she's saying. I don't necessarily think this is a point that you should be made from her just because I know how it will be received. But I don't find it to be this not valid point. I think it's a very valid point.
Agreed.
If someone else presented it, I don't even think people would necessarily be upset by it. Because it's just a very thoughtful point about how to organize a boycott and what it would do. But at the end of the day, no one's really organizing shit. So this will pass. All right, y'all, that's it. It's late. It's almost midnight. We're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for listening, and it's turned out to be longer than we thought, or I thought, but hopefully this was a good place to be able to have this conversation. We'll see you tomorrow with the MCU University podcast.
That ought to be fun.
So if you like nerdy stuff, tune in tomorrow. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody.